Today is dedicated to my mother and father who are listening from America. They should be healthy and have a lot of nachas from the children. Okay, so we're going to start today again. We did last week. We skipped a few psukim. We came back. We're going to do the same thing this week because I wanted to focus on a very important point today, which is emes. It's a book I wrote 22 years ago. I think it's like I only have like one copy of it left about integrity. And I'll tell you why I wrote this book. Did I tell you the story why I wrote this book? I was we're having a lot of difficulties, and I learned a Gemara in Brachos. The Gemara says if you wake up and you have a pasuk on your lips, it's a nevuah katana. Anybody read? You did. You will know about this. So, I woke right after I woke up, and I had the pasuk on my lips of Vayi B'Shur and Melech. And I looked at her. She said, right. He said, Yeshurun is the name that the Jewish people are called when they act with integrity. Right. So I decided to write a book on integrity, and that was Price of Integrity. But this week I was reviewing the Gemaras that have to do with the Geula, and most of them are found in Perek Chelik of Sanhedrin, the last section of Sanhedrin. And it's very interesting. There's about 2 pages or 3 pages to discuss it. But right before, there's a famous story about a town called Kushta. There was a town called Kushta, and in that town, nobody ever died. Nobody ever died. It's just the Maharal says the whole story is made up. It's very ironic. Anyway, in this town, no one ever died. And then one time, somebody moved in from a different town, and it was Erev Shabbos, I think, and his wife was washing her hair, and someone came to the door and asked, "Where's your wife?" She said she's not in, and then he had 2 children die because he deviated from the truth, right? And then right after that, the Gemara goes into the whole idea of all the Divrei Chazal that have to do with Mashiach. So strictly this week, there's 19 attributes that will exist before Mashiach comes, and one of them is the truth will be hidden. Emes Nederes. And I think you really see that today. You see so much that the truth is hidden. And I believe that one of the reasons for this is because as we get closer to the end, the obligation to find the truth is more incumbent on ourselves. Right? We have to look for it. It's not something, it used to be, and this is what I heard from my Rebbe, Rabbi Israel Auerbach, so, used to be the truth was much more out in the open. It was much more in front of your eyes. Today, like you have a hard time. If I told you this joke from Rabbi Pesach Kron, he said somebody called him up and said, "Rabbi, I don't know what to write on my insurance forms. Right? If I write 66, I get these benefits. If I write 65, I get these benefits. What should I write?" So Rabbi Kron asked him, "So how old are you?" He said, 65. Why do you write this? I didn't even think of that. Right? And this is really what Chazal mean, because like the truth is so far from people today. It's such a foreign concept that it didn't occur to me to say that. And really, as we get closer and closer to the end, the ability to distinguish between truth and not truth becomes more and more critical. The Gemara there says, I think I've discussed that before, Rav Yochanan says, "Put me in any generation, but don't put me in the generation before Mashiach." Right? And one of the Rav Eli Lapian explains that because you won't know what the truth is. Just Rabbi Leuchter was kind of like poking fun at this. He says, "Who's the Gadol Dorothy?" You have to check in the newspaper. Who was it? I don't know. Who did they say? When Ravad Yosef and Rabbi Yeshua were alive, it was undisputed. These were the 2 greatest Torah scholars of our generation. Today, who is it? We don't know. The truth is really, really hidden today. And it's incumbent on us to look for it. But in order to that, we need to maintain our sensitivity to it. I think I've told you that many times. I spent Shabbos with Rosh Hashanah Pincus. It was 37, 38 years ago. And his clock was broken. And he told me that his son, 2 weeks ago, had taken the Shabbos for Cholent and thrown it at the clock. They said, "What did you do?" I said, "I didn't do anything. I don't punish my children for anything except for shek, for not telling the truth." Yeah? And this is because that's the one the Vilna Gaon held, and also the Brisker of Chaim Soloveitchik held. This is the one attribute that if you're very strong in this attribute, everything else will fall into place. There's a famous from the Sefer Akeda. I think it's almost one of the Rishonim or one of the Early Achronim. Can I have a cold drink, by the way? Just have a cold drink of water. He writes like this. We went through this once. Maybe it was even last year. That there's a story about a person who was a ganav. Yeah, he was a professional thief. Today, that's very popular, especially since under $1,000 is not a felony. So he went to the rabbi. He said, "I want to do tshuva. I want to repent. I actually happened to be in the street today. Guy comes up to the street. I have no idea who this guy is. He says, "Oh, it's been so long. Since I met you? I don't know who he is." He says, please give me a bracha. I should be Shomer Shabbos." Okay. So I'm thinking, like, what do I tell this guy? Like, I have no idea who he is. So I told him something I heard from Rav Yisrael Salander. When he got to his first position, Rabbanas, he said, they weren't keeping Shabbos in Germany. So I'm not going to tell you to keep Shabbos. Just don't write Friday night. So that's what I told him. Friday night, try not to use electricity. So I told him. He was very happy with that. Okay. So that's what happened in this story with this, the Sefer Keda brings, right? He met the Ganim, and the Ganim's coming, in a moment of inspiration to the rabbi and saying, "Rabbi, I'm ready to do tshuva, but I'm only going to take on one thing. What should it be?" So if you're a rabbi, what would you say? A professional Ganim comes to you, don't steal, right? Okay, but the rabbi was a little smarter than that. Oh, right, don't lie. That's it. Very good, right? So don't steal. If it was me, I was not as smart as Stephanie, right? But yeah, okay. But I would have said, I don't want to. Don't steal. You're a ganav. You're a professional thief, and you kind of okay. So he said, "Don't lie." Okay, so what happened? So the next day, he's overcome by his passion to steal. So he goes out. He's in the street, and the guy says, "Oh, Charlie, how you doing? Where are you going?" He's like, "Gosh, that's so embarrassing to tell him I'm going to steal." So he went home, and the next day the same thing happened, and the next day the same thing happened, and he stopped. And that was it. So how the Sefer Akeda asked, this is like I guess it's a real story, or it's a mashal. It's like, how is this rabbi so smart? He couldn't even take it off step. You heard it before, right? But he said, because truth is the foundation of the entire Torah. And if you cling to the truth, then all other things will fall to the wayside. Whatever it might be. It might be stealing. It might be, I don't know, what other things people do? Killing. It might be avodah zarah, right? Whatever it might be. If you cling to the truth, then that will protect you. This is really, really important. And especially as we get closer and closer, the hard part today, let's tell you something. Why it's called Ikvus of the Mashiach? Does anybody know? What does it mean, Ikvus of Mashiach? It means the ankles of Mashiach. The ankles, right? The idea is like this, and this also answers another question. How can we, us small people in this generation, who are so far away from earlier generations where they were very, very great people, how can we bring the gula, but other people couldn't? The answer is because it's cumulative, right? It's like, what do they call that in the bank? Compound interest, it's cumulative. So everything that's been done until now is counted, right? And the mashal is like, it's from head to toe. The early generations fixed the head, and then the neck, and then the torso, and then the waist, and the legs, and now we're holding by the ankles, which means that we're deep sunk in the mud, right? Like the Yitzhotes of Kedusha we have to pull out now are very, very delicate and very covered in mud. That's our job right now. Our job right now is to do things. And the key to doing that is the truth. Because when something is covered with mud, you don't see it clearly. And today, some things are covered with mud. Like, what's the right thing to do? What should I be doing? What should I not be doing? What should I be thinking? It's very hard. It's very hard. Look, some things are easier than others. But there's today, like I'll give you a good example. There was a big rally today in Washington, right? And the rabbis didn't know what to do. There was a lot of reform. There were a lot of conservative and various spectrums of Orthodox. And someone told me that at 3 or 4 in the morning, he got what I think the beeps, what are they called? WhatsApps, or I don't know. Something. It woke him up and it said, "Don't go, it's straight." And then 2 minutes later, it said, "You must go, it's healed." Don't go. I remember during Corona, within 5 minutes, Rishtermak tells me, if you close your kolel, you're a murderer. And then it was a Dr. Slutsky, right? He says, if you open your koll, you're a murderer. So good, thanks. What are you doing? Right? So again, we have these subtle tests today, which is not really clear what the right answer is. And the way to know is to cling to truth. So if you look here it's in Parak Tezvav, Pasuk Yud Ches. Sorry, Chav Tes. Chav. The pasuk says like this: Leiv Sadik. It's in Parak 15, pasuk 28. In this edition, it's Kuf Sadik. Yeah, it says the heart of a tzaddik is yege. Yege is means 1528. Yege means to be introspective. If you remember, we once learned here at Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says a person's three best friends, I don't remember, three or two, are his ears and his heart. Because your ears hear and your heart processes. So those are very, very important parts of our being. Okay? So Leiv Tzaddik Yege, the heart of a tzaddik is going to be introspective. Because Yege Lanos, he thinks very carefully before he speaks. I went with someone to Roseville Orbach, and I asked him a certain question. When we got back, he asked me, why did you ask the question like this and not like this? He looked at every single thing. I said, I like that question because it was a reason I had asked like that. And that's the leiv of tzaddik. The heart of a tzaddik is searching carefully for the right way to speak and to think. And it's so important. So much lashon hara would be. My mother, by the way, she's an expert in lashon hara. She's like really knows, right, Mom? Right? Because if we would just think about what we're saying, it'd be much easier not to say lashon hara. Right? But it just kind of flows. So and where does that come from? Right? It's very interesting because Victor Miller translates the leiv as the mind, not the heart, it's a bit of right. Duties of the mind. My wife just bought Shar B'Tochen Chovos Levavos. It's called Duties of the Mind, leiv, because it's true. It's generally translated as the heart, but it means the introspective parts of the heart, the more cognitive parts of the heart. We can say such a thing, because the heart is, the brain is usually what thinks, but the heart also experiences and processes. That's so. So there are parts of the heart, at least in the Jewish concept, which is also yege, right? So let's go like this. What does it mean, leiv tzaddik yege lanos? Shetzadik ein b'piv man sheker. You will not find even the slightest iota of sheker in the mouth of tzaddik. U'lechein kigun libo eich lanos, and therefore he introspects in his heart how to answer. Shelo yeh b'dvarav siag v'sheker. Siag v'sheker. Siag means literally dross and falsehood. And this Talmud it's actually, his name is Shimi ben Gera, this Talmud. He's a direct descendant of Shimi ben Gera. He has a Shtar Yuchsin all the way back to Shimi ben Gera. Anyway, so I know Tanakh so well, if he was especially animistic a person. But, right, a real tzaddik, like even the slightest innuendo of non-truth will not come into his mouth. Here's what the Gemara is saying. And you can only get that if you think very carefully, because you have to go through like all of the possible implications of what you're saying. And we know the Vilna Gaon holds there's 6 primary Yetzaras, right? And the first one is Ra and Mirma, which means evil and deception, right? And what's evil? So I want to give you a good example of what evil is, because this was somebody, like 2 individuals in the past year really caused me like a tremendous cognitive damage, right? For different reasons. And I was trying to figure out one of them, like, what am I going to do? Because, when somebody really hurts you, so like the tendency is, and correct me, maybe it's only me, but the tendency is that really occupies your mind and your what do they call it? Your mind space. One smart person once told me, they get free rent in your head. Free rent all the time. And and I get up to down, that's the worst time. You get up to down and like this thought, like these thoughts come into your head. So how do you do it? So I divide the following plan and it works. I want to share it with you. Right? I got in touch with them. I sent them an email. I said, please send me your name and your spouse's name and everybody in your family. I want to daven for all of you. And I started doing it every day And within a week, this person didn't bother me anymore. So I understood the way Raw works is they'll take this particular Yitzhara. The way it works, it'll take something that maybe somebody did wrong to, it'll blow it up like very, very big, and it just will envelop your whole mind and just take over. Right? So how do you deflate that? How do you battle it? You battle it by doing really good things for this person and connecting to them and caring about them. And then you realize it's just a lot of rubbish or whatever. I said, just a lot of hot air. Right? Like they said, after this attack, right? One woman was interviewed. They say, why do you think this happened? She said, because all the Israeli media. They created dissent between the religious and non-religious. All these protests and what they call Chok Savir and all this garbage. Yeah, it was created by the media. Right? So that's Ra. Ra is something which really doesn't exist. Yeah, it's just something which is blown up out of proportion. And our job is to like put things back in proportion. The moment you connect to that person, you really feel for them and their family and their children. So that it goes, right? Okay, hopefully. So that's Ra. What about Mirma? Mirma is much more trickier. And this is what Vilna Gaon says, because Ra is out there in the open. In fact, every time we finish Shemona Esrei, we make the following statement. Elokai, nitzor l'shon chamei Mirma. We mentioned this before. What's that your Ra is attributed to your tongue, but Mirma is attributed to your lips? Does anyone know? So what would you think? Guess. Yeah. Oh, excellent. Okay. Prize for. Okay. Right. Duplicity. The lips, as the Gra, represents the truth, right? And Mirma, this Mirma works. There's another option, right? You could try this, like 64, 66, 65. Forget about that, right? But there's always duplicity. There's always either A, or B, but C, you see, I think it's C. So that's the danger of duplicity. Right? The danger of duplicity is that we get fooled thinking that the more that a person focuses single-mindedly on the truth, like that story of the Akeda, by the way, is very deep. Because what it's come to bring out is, okay, it worked for the Ghana. The rabbi was very smart. But if you cling to the truth, then everything else will fall into place. Everything else will fall into place. Because all, right, we mentioned this once, the Yetzer Hara is a misnomer. It's not the Yetzer Hara. It's the Yetzer Mirma, right? Because the Yetzer Hara would be much easier. The Gaon says this right at the beginning. I showed it to someone this week, right? In Aleph Beis, in the not in the what's it called? Hem Genuz here. He says, I think it's on page, and I have another edition, but he mentions it here. He says that the Yetzer Hara will always come to you like making something look great. He won't tell you, right? Excited. If you're excited, it's from the Yetzer Hara. Because he doesn't come to you showing that it's bad, right? It doesn't come to you. So the Yetzer Hara is really, it's deceptive. Even his name, Yetzer Hara implies like, I'm telling you to do something bad. Says the Gra. You could look this one up. Zayin Yudal. We've said it many times. The Yetzer Hara will always present Averas as mitzvahs. Will always be presented as mitzvahs. Yeah? Look at this. No matter how many times we review this, it's not. Zayin Yudal is on page Sadi Tes. Zim Mishle. Hayom Shnetzaltim Nidai. Said the Gaon, Ein HaYetzer Ba Hara Ba Eladim with those classes there. The Yetzer will never come to you and say, do something wrong. Right? It's on page Sadichas, Perek Zayin, Pasuk Yudal. The Yetzer will never come to you and say, do something wrong. Go kill somebody. Right? Right? Go steal money. Steal. He'll never tell you do wrong. Right? So that's what he says here. Start first by being shlamim, and then you like to eat meat, and then you eat meat that doesn't have a good extra on it, and then no extra on it, and then you're eating pork chops. So Yetzer Hara got you from point A to point Z, right? With all the little steps in between. That's how the Yetzer Hara works. It's all about sheker, right? The Yetzer Hara is a misnomer. It's all about sheker. And that's what we're saying here, that the more you cling to truth, you can't kind of go for that one, you know? HR tells you now. So I think I told you the story before. Someone came to one and said, I want to give you $100,000 donation. That's very generous, you know? Okay, great, you know, send me the money. He said, but I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do this. I'm selling my apartment for $1 million. It was Manhattan. This was many, many years ago. Right? I think for $1 million today, maybe you could buy like, you know, maybe a small 20 meter, no, even smaller, whatever it is. Yeah. I'm selling my apartment for $1 million and I want to give all the money to Stucca. I'm going to give it all to your coal. Right? You keep 100,000 yourself and the other $900,000 do a distribution. A distribution. To different charities at one time. I said, I called up my account. They said, that's fine. You can do that. Okay. Right. The next, a few days later, he says, my distribution is going to be primarily to my son, learning Kollel. So I'm already like, distribution, son, Kollel. Doesn't sound so glad to me. 3 days later, he says, oh, my sister who lives, you know, in this thing, she's also into distribution. I say, sister, distribution. So I spoke to Moshe Meisman, who's like the authority in the world on integrity. He said, run away. This is illegal. You know how many minyanim there are in the New York State Penitentiary? You know, you don't want to be part, you know, the 10th man over there for the fourth minyan. So we have to be cognizant that the way Mirma works is with very, very slight things and constantly moving the bar over with very, very slight innuendos and always from a mitzvah. Right? It's always from a mitzvah. The Yitzhak will come to you and tell you, you know, it's all right. You know, something. So I always tell the story about I went shopping. I went into a shul to use, you know, the facilities there. I come out, the guy's taking my stuff. This is I thought I wanted to the shul and it was Republic and everyone to use, you know, distributing it to other people also. Right? So how does that happen? It has to happen. You know, there's a very interesting kula here in Eretz Israel. Some people hold it, some people don't. Right? They hold that anything that has to do with governmental matters, you don't have to tell the truth because the government doesn't really exist, and etc. Now, look, maybe they're basing on something, maybe not. There's a opinion of Urain. Urain was a special sefer written by one of the Rishonim, Rabbi Lezmi Mitz. Everything is mach. People have Yiras Shamayim. He has one tool in the whole sefer, and that's he says Dvar Sheker Tirchak is only in Beis. It's not Beis, right? Beis Din, when you're in court, Jewish court. Right? Otherwise, you know, the Isser, the prohibition doesn't apply, right? Everybody argues with him. So say, we rely on that, which issues have to do with the Israeli government. Okay, that's what some people say. The problem with that philosophy, one of the problems is that it teaches you to lie. And once a person has lost that sensitivity to the truth, then it will encompass all areas of your life, right? I was once at the Iriya, and there were two women there. They were waiting online, and one woman was complaining, you know, I had to take off from work today. Okay. Then like 3 seconds later was turned, and they asked her, do you work? And she said, no. Now, look, maybe she had a hectare, maybe she had but it was just too sudden for me. You know, it was just too, and this is really what the Gra is saying, is that something is really exciting, that nothing will come out of their mouth unless they've checked very, very carefully that there's no untruth, there's no, even a slight whiff, siag. Siag is like a dross of sheker. Okay. And that's something, right? And that's, as we're in these days of Heavenly Mashiach, everyone says, these are Heavenly Mashiach, right? This is what Rav Eli Lapian said. The main difficulty is going to be detecting what is good and what is not good. Especially in America, people are like crazy about it. We have to represent Israel. We have to do that. The buildings, okay, I have to be careful what I say. We're being recorded. But, you know, things are not so simple, especially when you're joining up with other groups which might have views which the Vilna Gaon calls them the Avraham. Vilna Gaon, it's in coming up in Beishlach. The pasuk says that when Yaakov went to make Esav, he says the Bnei Shvachos were in front, and then the Bnei Leah and the Bnei Rachel. Says the Vilna Gaon, this is a hint what it's going to be like before Moshe comes. He says Bnei Rachel are the Talmidei Chachamim; they'll be at the end. The Bnei Leah are the Haman Am, and the Bnei Shvachos are the Erev Rav, and they will be the leaders of Jewish people. The Jewish people will be led. Politicians that are leading Jewish people will be the Hebrew. That's what the Vilna Gaon says. So we have to be very, very careful these days before we make a decision. Think about it carefully. If you're really excited about it, you have to be really careful because that's what we know. The HR works with getting excited. Right? He said the Gross says you don't have to get excited if it's good. Right? If you're too excited, check really carefully. Okay, that's what he's saying here. What's the flip side? This is what the Gross is saying now. The flip side is Pirushoyim. Avishoyim asher piyam mole shab. Now there's doing sheker and shab, by the way. Sheker is an outright lie. Shab is something which is like a white lie, or it's like nothingness. It's not really. It's not so bad. All these different things. Right? It's filled with it. Hipuk oyev umetzaper. One second. Sorry, I jumped here. Right? Choshven eight lanos. PM yabiu ros. Milosh right? They're like spewing. They don't even know. They wouldn't even know truth if like it hit them in the head, right? They're spewing with falsehood, right? And it's a danger because it's not just in the way they speak; it's the way they act and the way they see life. David and Melech also already taught us. The way you see life is the way you speak. If you speak good about people all the time, and you're very careful about the truth, you'll see life truthfully, right? If you all the time are bending the truth, then your whole perception of life will be, what's akum? How do you say in English? Akum? Crooked, right? Crooked. Okay. So this is really critical. I'm sure that Winston Churchill has something important to say about this, and my father will tell me what it is later. But because he was a man of integrity, I believe. In any event, the point is like this. The point is that it's clear when having Mashiach now. Like it's if you don't see that, then really look close, right? And Chazal tell us one of the major things about Chevlin Mashiach, right, is that the truth will be hidden, which means you have to look really, really closely to find it. Right? You have to look really, really closely to find it. The Torah is telling us the way that you do that is think carefully before you speak. Try to eliminate falsehood from your speech, right, and speak in a way which is very, very exact, and that will affect the way you see life, right? Because, like we said, the way you talk, like we spoke about this before, Ruach HaKodesh. The question is, all of us have Ruach HaKodesh. Every time you speak, you're either elevating or you're lowering your Ruach. Right? Because the Targum Onkelos says, Selam Elokim Ruach Mamalu is your speech. Right? Every time you say good, truthful, positive, inspiring words, your Ruach goes up. And every time you do the opposite, your Ruach goes down. Right? And this is really, really important. You just have to throw this in. It's totally not connected. But, there was a story about a guy who became a Baal Tshuva, and he was in this kibbutz Beri, Moshav, and he dreamt 3 times his Rebbe came to him, and he said to leave, right? And Friday night, he just got in his car and he left with his family. And that was one of the places that was attacked, right? So they asked Reb Zilberstein this week, right? Or last week, right? Is it permitted to drive on Shabbos? Again, he had the same dream. You know the story? 3 times he had the same dream, right? That he was going to die. He's a Baal Tshuva for like 2 months, right? His Rebbe just passed away a few weeks ago, right? The person was Makar of him. He passed away. He came to him Friday night, Simchas Torah, 3 times in a dream. He went to sleep, woke up, went to sleep, woke up, went to sleep, woke up. You must leave. You're in great danger. After 3 times, he took his whole family, got in the car, and he went to Yerushalayim, right? And he was saved because of that. So they asked him, is a mutter to do that on Shabbos? And he said, yes. If it's really, he asked them some questions. He said, yes. We asked this today to Rabbi Zul Auerbach. He also agreed, right? If a person has 3 times a dream, the Gemara says, the Taz writes, it happens 3 times. The Swarm asks, so how do you have true dreams, right? So sometimes dreams are shtus. It says the more you speak truth, the more your dreams will be true. Right? A person who clings to the truth, and at night they'll have dreams which true. So this is another example. A person who lives a life of truth, right? Everything, not only when they're awake, what happens when you go to sleep? When you go to sleep, your neshama leaves your body. Maybe we learned about it. The Gemara speaks about it in Aisha's style, right? It's in the pasuk. What's it? It's Yimer Taktav Ilachma. I believe it's in that pasuk. He says when you go to sleep, your neshama is far away from your guf, right? It's your neshama is far away from your body, but it's shining down from above every time you go to sleep. It's a lamed aleph, I believe. H's style, yeah. Marvadim Aser. Where that one? Ah, Patika Bora. Talking about Bible. Uh, where is the puzzle miracle talking about this? Right before that one. Oh, yeah, right. High St. goes right. Oh, yeah. It's past Parak Lamed Aleph Yudalin. He says, "Lo never Laila El L'Shena, Tetzi Laila Risha." And the Kodesh Baruch Hu, so, okay, second. That's my worst thing is finding it's right now. It's the next page. Second. Second. Oh, yeah, here it is. It's in Pasuk Tes, right? Pasuk Tes. Tamakito Sakra, 4 lines down. He says every yom Abalayla Apal Pisha Neshama Mistalekes Meir Laner Lanefesh Ruach. The neshama leaves your goof, so how do you stay alive? It's because it's still giving life force to Nefesh Ruach. Lo Yicha Balayla Nera. Right? That's why you stay alive at night. Otherwise, you would pass away. It's in Parak Lamed Al Pasuk Yud, right? Ner mitzvah torah, v'sod ner mitzvah, v'yam v'sod torah, she'en lo kvio lamas, v'layla kiyom yer. Okay. That's how we stay alive at night. The neshama is giving. So your neshama leaves your body at night, right? And it goes up to Shemayim. The more truthful you were during the day, the more you'll be shown true dreams. That's what the Svarim say. Yeah. So, it's not just a question. And the truth is, the more Averas a person did during the day, the more problems they will have at night, improper thoughts, and other things which could disturb a person. Right. So, this is what the Quran is saying. That our goal is to, whole essence, our whole personality should be imbued with truth. So now, I just want to go back and do the psukim that we skipped now. It's a little bit late. But let's try to see at least 2 of these psukim. I'm going to skip one. This week psukim. I always skip one around. Second, which one we skip? I'm going to skip pasuk Kotei. It's about Haman. Right? Come back to it. We have a long time until we have other Aleph on the day this year. Glean will come back to this when we get to closer to Purim. Maybe other Aleph. We have Purim Cotton. I'm going to go to Paf Vav. Toev Hashem machshevas ruah. It's a to'eva, it's abomination to Hashem, bad thoughts. Says the Gra Kolomer, Paul Makshavas Rasha, Af al even for other evil people, the to'eva Hashem. The Torah makes lo Imre Noah. Af hadoimim, hadomim l'chanufa, ve'inam matakos hatov, heim Torah. 1 second. The Torah, Eitz lo Imri Noam. Apa don't look at Nufa, Haim Torah. So it's a very interesting thing because we know there are 4 groups that that will not see Hashem in the world to come. Does anyone know who they are? Lashon Hara is wives. Right. Hanilfa. All right.